this time. The Republican brand is getting worse, and Lamar Alexander might be Exhibit A. Why is that? Let's bring in Ben Cunningham of the Nashville Tea Party. Good morning, Ben.
Hey, Ralph. How are you?
I am very good, sir. Good to talk with you. Republican poll numbers, public approval ratings for Republicans in Congress dropping. Why might that be?
Well, I think everybody agrees on the fact that the Republican brand is in trouble. It is the polling. We had the poll, I think, about a week ago with McConnell in Kentucky that showed he was in big trouble. With this Quinnipiac poll last week on Republicans in Congress showed for the first time, I believe it was, that a majority of Republicans disapproved of Republicans in Congress. So clearly there is a real basic problem. And the response of the Republicans has been basically the Karl Rove response. Let's shut out the grassroots that are making all the noise about the problems, and let's go back to the establishment Republicans. And electoral success is more important than a debate of the issues and everything. And we're having exactly the same. This experience is being mirrored in Tennessee.
Yeah. Recall, if you will, if you can, recount the email conversation you had with was it a former Republican chairman? You asked him something about Lamar Alexander and why he was supporting it.
Well, this was sent to me by someone who had sent an inquiry to a former Republican chairman. What was it? 2 weeks ago, virtually every member of the congressional delegation came out in support of Lamar. Then last week, every living state Republican chairman came out in support of Lamar. Yeah. So a friend of mine emailed one of those chairmen and said, what's going on here? He doesn't even have a primary opponent at this point. Why is everybody coming out? Well, his response, this is verbatim. Lamar wants to make sure he has no primary opponent. And read that again. Lamar wants to make sure he has no primary opponent.
So when the question is, why are you supporting Lamar Alexander? The answer is because Lamar wants to make sure he has no primary opponent. As if, well, of course, whatever Lamar wants, that's what I'm going to do.
Absolutely.
And there's some kind of law that says, well, if you're a Republican, you have to march to whatever tune Lamar might be whistling on his flute.
It's just crazy. I mean, the response of the Tennessee Republican establishment is to say, basically, we're going to shut out any real debate of Lamar Alexander's record. A 12-year incumbent who started when the national debt was $6 trillion. When he finishes his second term, it will have tripled. He has presided over a tripling of the national debt. And yet the Republican establishment is saying, we don't want anybody to have a real debate of Lamar's voting record. That's what he is paid to do, is to vote. And we've got to have a debate, and yet the Republican establishment is saying, Lamar is too important. We can't have the grassroots or the Tea Party folks, for God's sakes, involved in this. We've got to put him through. We've got to bully anybody who might think about running him. And that's what this is. This is a bullying campaign.
I would say that this would
intimidate.
I would say that would be just as an outrageous response, regardless of whether Lamar Alexander was a good senator or a bad senator, whether he was somebody that I would support or not. It's just the fact that, well, the incumbent wants it, so naturally that's what I'm going to do. It's a kind of almost brain-dead automatic response that can destroy our country if we allow it to do so.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the kind of thing you see in organized crime, where everybody comes together and tries to bully the opposition. I mean, this is outrageous. And yet the whole Republican establishment is buying into this and saying, we're going to bully and intimidate anybody that wants to come out and have a real debate of Lamar Alexander's record. Lamar Alexander, who voted for the Medicare prescription drug expansion, the biggest entitlement expansion in 30 years. He voted for TARP. we're not going to allow anybody to come out and have a real debate of this. And that's the real problem with the Republican brand. And the Republican establishment darn well better recognize that quickly, or it's going to get even worse.
But somebody has to step up and say, okay, I'm going to take on the big dog before anybody can do very much about it. And I've not seen any. Maybe it's too early. I talked with the gentleman for Club for Growth last week, Andy Roth, who's on the activist side of Club for Growth. And he said it's too early for us to go out and search for an opponent for Lamar Alexander. Is it too early? I don't think it is. I think the earlier the better. You need somebody to jump in early to have any kind of a chance at all, because the circle around the Lamar Alexander wagon is getting bigger and stronger all the time.
I agree. I certainly don't think it's too early, but I don't think it's too late either. I think it is. There's certainly plenty of time for a good candidate to get involved. I cannot tell you how much energy and enthusiasm there would be for a good candidate to get in this race and give Lamar a good debate about the issues. That's what we need. And if the Republican brand is to survive, it's got to be about an exchange of ideas and getting back to a Republican brand that is sustainable and can win elections. And we're going in exactly the opposite direction.
I saw, I didn't apologize, I didn't read the article, but I think it was you that sent me an article the other day that alleges that the Tea Party is running out of steam, running out of confidence and everything else. Is the Tea Party, is the rose leaving, is the bloom leaving the Tea Party rose?
No. I would say the grassroots activists are more activated, more energized now than they have been probably in 18 months to 2 years. The Second Amendment debate has certainly energized a lot of people, and that has probably been the impetus over the last 2 or 3 months. But no, the Tea Party is just as active as ever. I saw an article this morning about the Florida Tea Party. They're getting right in the middle of the legislature this year, pushing bills. I think the Tea Party and grassroots activists and grassroots concern about the direction of the country is just as high as it ever has been.
So what does it take to defeat a Lamar Alexander? And there have been other states where incumbents have lost. The longtime senator from Indiana lost, but then the Republican who beat him also lost. There have been better success stories where the longtime in Kentucky, Mitch McConnell, who is the ultimate establishment Republican, campaigned for the opponent of Rand Paul. Rand Paul won anyway. What does it take for somebody to beat someone as well entrenched and established as a Lamar Alexander?
I think it takes Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, Rand Paul. All of these examples are very clear that somebody who can articulate the Republican message of personal responsibility, of individual liberty, of small government, of low taxes. It's not brain surgery. It's somebody who can articulate those messages and why they represent the best path forward for America and why they represent the greatest amount of opportunity for individual Americans to better themselves. It's just somebody who can come out and articulate that message enthusiastically.
But can it be somebody who nobody's ever heard of before? Because we're running out of people that people have heard of before. Can it be somebody who comes out of nowhere?
Sure. It can be an insurgent candidate. It'd be nice to have some name ID and start with a little name ID, but with social media these days, an insurgent candidate who's really good and energetic at putting the message out, I don't think it's any question they can do it. It'd be nice if we had somebody who was already a known quantity, and there's certainly, I think there are certainly those people out there considering it. But no, with this day and time, with social media, and with the ground game that has the technology of the ground game, there's this absolutely somebody could come out, an unknown quantity can come out and make a race of it.
Okay. Might be somebody listening to our conversation right now. Who knows? Ben, thank you. As always, we'll talk again next week. Ben Cunningham, founder of the Nashville Tea Party on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. For long-term